Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I don't know if you've ever heard of Legal Writing Coach or what we've done, or Chris Jensen, who is my business partner and done these before, but this will be my first time at Freshfields, and I'm very excited to be here. And I wanted to first say congratulations for becoming attorneys at one of the best law firms in the world. So congratulations on doing that. You can give yourself a round of applause. Amazing people. Why are you here? Why on your induction have they decided that legal writing in English is important? Why is it more important than many of the other things that you could be doing right now? Anybody have a guess? Well, because the partners think it's important, right? What do you do in a law firm? You do what the partners think is important. And what they think is important is accurate, clear writing. Because accurate, clear, concise writing wins cases and it wins clients. And if you're dealing with international clients, it's spreads door out. It's going to convene. But if you're dealing with international clients, or if you're dealing with large corporations who have most of the money and are paying you most of the money, they're going to have board members, they're going to have managers that don't speak German, that maybe can't interpret German law very easily, and they're going to also have different communication methods, communication styles, cultures, all these things, and they're going to transfer this with you through English. And 80% of your time is going to be in writing. Our firm, just to give you a little bit of background, we are #1 in Europe, #1 recommendation. We're recommended by most of the top law firms in the world, and partners love us because after this 3 hours, you will be a different person. This is not, you'll be a different person. This is not your gymnasium, university, legal English course. This is not some private school down the street. We've built this program over 25 years. We work with all of the major law firms, and we've looked at hundreds of thousands of examples of what are the errors lawyers make in language that lose cases. And then how do lawyers write in English to win cases and to win clients? And that's what you're going to get today, the 3 key skills of legal drafting. But it's going to be a very interactive workshop. You're going to have a lot of activities. We're going to be moving quite fast. All right, so get your English ears on, get your brain on, screw it on, because this morning is going to be quite intense. If you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me by raising your hand, right, and asking a question anytime. There are no stupid questions, all right? Ask anything you want. And afterwards, because the time, there will be one break, and afterwards, because there was a slight confusion about when the workshop would be, whether it would be in the morning and night or in the evening, I booked 2 days, so I'm going to be here the rest of the day, and I have offered Freshfields the opportunity for anybody in this room, if you would like to have a private tutorial with me, then you can have a 20 to 30 minute private tutorial with me to discuss any of the particular issues you have, any particular documents you have, or anything if you just like to have an English practice conversation. But I have a sign-up list for you if you'd like to have a private tutorial with me this afternoon. Let's go ahead and get started. Do you know the person sitting next to you, or are you all strangers to each other? Yeah? Well, I would prefer that I know you're all comfortable, but I would prefer that you get to know somebody new. So if you already like best buddies, we went to the university together and we've known each other a long time. We lived in the same dorf. Then please move to somebody new, because this is a great opportunity for you to get to know somebody new within the law firm, get to know your colleagues, and do some networking, because this is, again, this is how I win clients, and this is how you can win clients as well, is by networking and communication. So everybody comfortable? All right, and everybody knows that they can ask questions anytime, and you should feel very comfortable in this room. You're amongst friends. Okay, maybe not friends, but you're amongst colleagues that really want to hear your questions. All right, let's get started. Look at the person next to you, and I want you to answer this question. What is your biggest challenge as a writer? What's the biggest challenge in writing legal English? Go ahead and discuss that for a minute. Come up with an answer. Okay, great. All right, who would like to volunteer an answer? Okay, so I see. Okay, good. Now I know I'm not going to call on him the rest of the session, and I'm going to call out each of you individually. Okay, great.
I think it's a big challenge for us German guys, people to know the cultures, the different cultures when you're speaking or writing in English. So to get in touch with each other, it's I think a big issue for us.
Okay, so understanding the communication norms across cultures, that's a big issue, a big challenge for you, okay? What is the other ones? Anything else?
Trading and translating concepts, legal concepts that are very specific to the German legal system and making it understandable to the others.
Okay,
without losing the content, basically.
Without losing the content. That's a very key statement. Thank you very much for saying that. Translating German law. That's a big challenge, right? But translating it in a way that people understand and making sure that that content is not lost when you simplify it or you translate it or you change it in some way. Yeah, these are excellent. Well, we've come up with actually 3 ways, 3 things that people get wrong, and 3 ways to fix this. These are the key skills of legal drafting. But then you say, well, what is it that partners pay us so much money to come here for? Well, because we teach you the appropriate tone, the correct usage, which includes grammar, vocabulary, and punctuation, and then a concise style, a short, clear style. But how to get to that goal, which is what the partners want, you have to know the golden rule. And today we're going to memorize the golden rule of legal writing, which is to help the reader get the content quickly and easily. Now, it doesn't matter if, I'm sorry, what's your name? Yannicka. And your name?
Maximilian.
Okay, Maximilian. It doesn't matter if you're translating German law, which is a challenge that Yannicka is having, or what Max is talking about, translating across cultures. Every reader wants the same thing. I don't have to convince anybody. That's why my job is so easy. I don't have to convince you of anything. Everybody's already convinced once they put themselves in the position of the reader, right? Would you like to read something and make it easy for you and quick to understand to get the content, or would you like for it to take a long time? Okay, we all want the same thing, and your clients want the same thing, and the partners want the same thing. Help the reader get the content quickly and easily. Well, how do I do that? Well, we're going to find out. The one thing that you could do is to disappear. You're going to find today that you may or may not remember me, right? But what you will remember is the content and the material that I'm teaching. Because I've put the content first and not myself first. Lawyers oftentimes, because you're so smart, you're so sophisticated, you're trained so well to present yourself so strong, so educated, you want people to perceive you as the best, as the brightest, as the smartest. Oftentimes that, I'm not going to say ego, but oftentimes that belief in yourself causes you to want to impress people. Impress people with your great writing, your great English skills, your big knowledge of Latin. I can incorporate all these Latin phrases, And sometimes you think, hey, I'm not only the best, the brightest, I got a job at Freshfields, highly competitive law firm, worldwide, over 100 years old. But you know what? I'm also cool, right? I'm Mr. Cool too, right? And so you think, oh, well, this client that's working there, I can be cool with them. And sometimes when you're talking across cultures, you don't know how to adjust to that. You say, well, can I be cool? Or do I have to be very serious? So getting the appropriate tone is the easiest way to, one, remove yourself so that the reader can focus on the content. Okay, well, what is tone? We're going to go through appropriate tone rather quickly so we can get to the fun, exciting stuff that you're all here for, which is grammar. Right? No, we're not going to spend too much time on that. All right, so formality. This is the tip. Everything in today is going to be practical. Also, I'm going to lead you to the material because 3 hours is not enough time for us to scratch the surface of most of these things. On the desk in front of you is our materials bank for this workshop. These materials banked are based on my partner's book, published by LexisNexis. It's one of the world's top books for legal writing, and there's a reason why it is the top book for legal writing, because there's hundreds of practical tips and advice and words in this materials bank that will help you throughout your career. I'm going to refer to this materials bank throughout the workshop today and make sure that you're aware of where to find the relevant material that's going to help you in the future, because after 3 hours you won't see me anymore. But again, I'm minimizing myself so that you can have the most benefit. Now, tone devices. When we talk about formality, what are we talking about? This is the first question to ask yourself, and it's the simplest question to ask. Who am I writing and why? What's the purpose of my writing and who am I writing? Am I writing a big client for a big firm? Am I writing a partner who's CC'd? These kind of things. The easiest way to understand how to write somebody is to mirror. Is to write them how they write you. Okay? So if somebody says, "Dear Josh," and I made this mistake the other day. because I have administrative people and marketing people that send out emails to different prospective clients. And I had an email list to some different new law firms that aren't already in our Advanced Language Institute fold. And I put in the template email, "Dear full name." And it was the administrative assistant's job to write the full name of the person. So, "Dear John Wood," "Dear Dietrich, Hammer," right? Instead of Mr. or Mrs., this and that, because my administrative assistant, I thought, oh, well, she's in the Philippines, she might get confused or might get it wrong, so let's just do full name. What did she do? She understood that full name was first name. So I'm writing these law firm partners for the first time, and it's got my signature on it, and it's like, "Dear Susie, dear Alan," as if we've known each other for a long time. Luckily, I caught it after only 15 emails, and I probably won't be hearing from those partners, but funny enough, I did actually hear from one, and they wrote me back, "Dear Josh." So this was an interesting thing, is that what the partner was doing, the partner got past this whole formality issue, and put himself in a sales position, and said, "Hey, this guy wrote me, 'Dear Alan,' I'm going to write him back, 'Dear Josh.'" So what the partner was doing was mirroring me. And that's what you would do, is you would mirror that person. That's the easiest way to figure out, how do I write this person? Mirror, right? And again, different cultures have different norms. The relationship, this is another big thing. Obviously the money thing is important, how people think about themselves, the type of relationship you have, and so on. The length of relationship, how well have you known each other, the purpose of writing. We say put the purpose first. Get the purpose out there first. I'm writing because this is obviously something that needs to be quite clear to the people. And then you're going to obviously also adjust your formality based on whatever purpose you have. We're going to look at an example in a second. And then again, what Maximilian had said is cultural factors make a huge, huge difference in how you relate to people. Like when I discuss things with the people in Japan or in Singapore, I'm dealing with them very differently than I am in people in England or in the United States. In America, people like to get to the point really quickly. Same thing here in Germany. People are like, "What's the point? Tell me the point. Why are you waiting so long?" But in Japan, it's the opposite. They like to get all the information first and then give me the point at the end. And if you do it the other way around, they perceive it as you're too hasty. You're in too much of a hurry. Why the rush? Are you going to also, and then they think, are you going to also rush through the legal work that you have to do and not take it seriously? So there's a big cultural factor, a cultural issue there, and you don't want to get it. You don't want to get it wrong. And then of course, we always have to pay attention to the other people in the email, whoever that is. One of the tips, and you can take this, and guys, you can take this also in the realm of fashion. A bit too formal is better than too informal. All right. So if you're going to your mother-in-law's birthday party, probably family will appreciate it if you wear your tie rather than not. The bit too formal is better than too informal. And this is, everybody could probably agree with this, because you can get it way wrong if you're too informal. Way wrong. But if you're too formal, then the other person that you're dealing with on the other side can lower that formality and say, "Wir sind du," or we're on a do level rather than a Z level, right? Or they can say, if you write "Dear Mr. Bloom," and they write "Dear Josh," then you can know that that person has lowered that level of formality, but you, as a lawyer, as a professional, have come out formal. All right? All right, take a look at this email. That's the end of my presentation. Now it's time to get to work. All right? Take a look at this email and discuss with the person next to you what are some of the things that this person did wrong. Let's say this should be a formal, this is an internal business email. What are some of the things they should pay attention to, the formality factors they should pay attention to? Go ahead and discuss that for a couple of minutes. What do you see?
That's the question. Like, it could be me selling challenges. Even though we're communicating.
You see what it is? I know what's yeah, no one says that.
Okay. All right. Who would like to start? Let's get these gentlemen in the middle. You seem like you had a really good conversation. Well, tell me something. The first thing that we should pay attention to.
We should avoid all the informal language and the smileys, of course, and all these stuff that is. It's way too informal.
Okay, let's start from the particular and move to the general. So tell me something specific.
It was super chatting, so I would avoid super probably. I would say I enjoyed talking to you.
Great. So the vocabulary is informal. So you can have either formal or informal levels of vocabulary. Super. What's an alternative to super?
Great.
It was great. It was good. Well, good. Well, yeah. What's your name? Julius. Julius, it was good chatting to you. That sounds like goodbye. Yeah. I'm sure you've never heard that before. Probably not. I'm sure if I said, oh yeah, Julius, it was good chatting to you. Yeah, that's okay. But we want to say it was great chatting to you, right? It was a pleasure chatting to you, right? Because we want to make people feel good. Okay? But good is more formal than super. It was awesome. It was really cool to get to know you, and now can you pay me $5,000? All right? Okay, so vocabulary is one key issue. What about even before that? What about the greeting? Go ahead, Julius.
I was going to say that the actual assignment is bound by many other things in this message. For instance, that something in another sentence is underlined, but the actual assignment sort of disappears. The assignment is send me the guest list.
Exactly. So there's all this fluff around this informal language, and this exactly. And I like the term that he used. He says it drowns it. It literally suffocates or drowns it. Excellent use of English, by the way. And so what we're seeing is an example of informal language that is getting in the way of the reader getting the content quickly and easily. Obviously, we want to say dear in the greeting, and what we really want them to do is something. We really want them to do something, right? What do we want them to do? What's our task to get Susie? What does Tanya want Susie to do? Send her the guest list, right? Yeah? But how urgent does she make it seem? Kind of like, it's urgent, but kind of not urgent? Is it urgent or not urgent? I don't know. Right? So you have to write in a way that the reader is going to get the content, because your clients won't see it as urgent or a priority unless you make it seem like an urgent priority. But if you then talk to your client, or I'm sorry, Freshfield's clients, if you talk to those clients and try and demand things, I need this today, well then what are they going to say? Who are you? I'm the CEO of big company, right? You know, never outshine the master, and always keep your level appropriate. But you still got to get it urgent. You still need that information. You need that information so that you need those provisions written so that you can write it up before the deadline. You got things to do, billable time. So how do you get that formality correct? And this is exactly what Maximilian was talking about across cultures. When you look at this, so then you have, okay, other things. You got the smileys. What else we got? Okay. You got a lot of informal language. What about the bold here? Bold and underlined? A bit too much? All caps, bold, underlined? What is that saying? What kind of message am I conveying behind the text there? All right, so tone device is what we look at. Salutation, title, name, closing. All of these you can find what's called the level of formality that you want to use in Annex A. So let's take a look. Open your materials bank, and I'm going to show you the first part that's useful. There's a table of contents at the beginning, and then you'll find the annexes. I will refer to the annexes throughout the workshop, and then we'll ask you to take a brief look at the annexes. And so if you ever have a question, oh, what should I write? Mr., Mrs., Doctor, Joe, do I put a comma behind it? Do I not put a comma behind it? Our rule is consistency with the commas, by the way. So before somebody asks, do I put a comma or no comma? Be consistent. So in the beginning and the end, if you use a comma at the beginning, use a comma at the end. If you don't use a comma right in the greeting, then don't use a comma in the salutation. There is no rule. The rule is be consistent. Because if you're inconsistent, what does that say about your legal work? That you're not paying attention. So be consistent is the rule of salutations, my rule. Vocabulary. We looked at super versus great. It was a pleasure, blah, blah, blah. Politeness terms. Could you please send the guest list? Would you kindly send the guest list? But don't be over polite because it's weird, right? Could you please kindly, would you pleasure, it would be a pleasure if you would kindly please do this. And in Middle Eastern cultures, they oftentimes do this, and you see this real overbearing length of this overly polite terms. We don't need to be that, but be polite. Say please, say thank you. And one of the ways to also change the formality quickly is to use a synonym. So you already pointed it out, instead of super you could use great or good or a pleasure to get to know you. Contractions. Contractions are informal, always informal. Better to avoid contractions, especially when you're dealing with clients, because you're saying, hey, we're buddy, this and that. They're not your buddies, okay? They're paying you a lot of money to do very serious work, and let's keep it kind of formal. That's an easy way to keep it a little bit more formal. All right. Until you know them, until you are buddies, until you win 5 cases and millions of dollars, and then they're your buddy, right? And you're like, hey, let's go out on my boat this weekend. All right. And then another way to increase the formality quickly: would you, could you, what's called modality. Would you do this for me? Could you do this for me? Could you kindly please do this for me? I don't need to have all that. I could have either or. You know, would you please do this for me? Would you do this for me? That's also kindly. I don't even need to say please. Okay? So you can use grammar, vocabulary, and then norms of salutation in order to increase or decrease the politeness of any text, and then adjust that to your reader. And then, of course, punctuation and cosmetics. Be consistent. Check it for errors. And there shouldn't be too much on the page. We'll look at this a little bit later, but you want to have some white space. Yeah, what web designers call white space. I had a revolution in the last few years of developing my own companies. This is my second company, and looking at mobile-first website designs. Because the content, you know, with my background in law and in academia, I write long paragraphs, write long sentences. I want to make sure the explanations are full. But you can't do that on a website where you have a mobile friendly, because one sentence looks like a whole paragraph. So you have to be really concise with that. And I learned about white space. And white space in an email, white space on a page, that's a really important thing to pay attention to as well. And the main thing is, get rid of the legal style, okay? You can be formal, but you don't have to use legal style. All right, what's legal style? Well, let's see if you can spot it. This is a real email from a lawyer to me. Okay. Quite typical for somebody who hasn't gone through the legal writing coach. It's typical. Like I said, after today, you'll clean all this up. What's the legal style? Give me an example. Yeah, go ahead.
Passive language, and reference is made.
Yeah, reference is made to. What about that whole entire reference is made to? Doesn't that just sound like a lawyer? Right? Does anybody else talk like that? No. Okay, reference is made to. Excellent. Okay, would you like to give it a shot?
Definitions?
Definitions, yes. Here and after. Provisions, meaning that here and after I'm using this. I want to be clear. This is what the definable term is. This is how it must be recognized. Excellent. So including definitions with terms like here and after. Let me go for another person who hasn't gone yet. Young lady in the back here with the glasses. Yeah, you, with the black, all the way to the back. Yeah. What's another legal style?
In light of the fact that the date for signing the contract shall be 1 week from today, that sounds quite like a legal stylish sentence.
Absolutely. In light of the fact that, is that necessary? Right? And doesn't it sound like you're already in court? Right? In light of the fact that you haven't signed the document within the necessary time frame, right? It already sounds like we're already in court. But this is an email from a lawyer to a client. Okay? So when we talk about legal style, dropping the legal style, we're talking about unnatural phrases, what my partner Chris Jensen calls unnatural phrases. But you can have your cake and eat it too. You don't have to get rid of the content, like definitions. You don't have to get rid of that. You can keep that content, but you can express it in a style that's more reader-friendly. Again, what was the golden rule of legal writing? It's not to make sure all of the definitions heretofore are absolutely correct and the client has full understanding of every aspect of everything the client must need in order to understand fully the implications of every single thing that needs to be said. Right? It's that we need to help the reader get the content quickly and easily. Okay, there wasn't very much motivation there. Let me get a little bit more. The goal of legal writing is to help the reader get the content quickly and easily. Okay, everybody together. Help the reader. Yeah, a little bit louder, okay? We're going to do this as many times as we have to. Help the reader get the content quickly and easily. All right, now we're good. Now we're good. All right, so unnatural phrases. You caught some of these, the people that I called on randomly. Enclosed with here, please find. Okay, ever seen that before? Unnatural. What would we use instead of that?
Please find attached.
Please find attached. That's what I use personally. Chris says, I attach. Okay? Both are fine. But what I really liked what Annika said is she used that polite term, please. So she's have please find attached. Pursuant to your instructions, what's an easier way to say this one? All right, you list.
As discussed, for instance.
As discussed. Excellent. Wow, we have some really high-level lawyers in here, high-level legal writers already here. All right, let's step up the game a little bit, get a little bit more challenged. Reference is made to a new volunteer.
I refer to.
I refer to. Okay, great. And what's your name?
Falco.
Michael. Okay.
Falco.
Huh? Heiko.
Falco.
Oh, Falco. Oh. Michael. Yeah, okay, I got it. I just haven't heard that name before. But I live in Bean, so I mean, I hear FICO and I think Falco. Sorry, it's FICO.
Most people do that.
Reference is made to, I refer to, means excellent, as to. It would be highly appreciated if. Go ahead.
Could you please?
Could you please? Excellent. And what was your name?
Dorothea.
Dorothea. Okay, great. Please, or could you, or would you please? So she connected that modality and the polite term, which is what we looked at in a previous slide. Excellent. And please do not hesitate to contact me if you have any further questions. How can I shorten this? Anyway, Dorothea.
Let me know if you have any other questions.
Let me know if you have any further questions. Right? That's good. That's shorter.
They're happy to discuss.
I'm happy to discuss this further. Okay, but it's a lot shorter. Those are great examples where you don't lose the formality, but you're also cutting and shortening, and you seem like a human being, not like a lawyer robot. Right? As Elena knows, I just put, call me anytime. Right? And of course, call or write anytime. You could say that. But Chris, my partner, he just cuts that whole thing. He just says, it's unnecessary. Don't need it. Save 2 seconds of the person's time and don't even bother with it. I always invite people to call me or write me, so it depends on your style. Same thing with formality, how you close. Choose a closing that works for you and stick to it. Don't say my best, then kind regards, then all the best, then all the best regards. Don't change it all the time. Find one that works for you and stick to it, because then you spend less time writing. Yeah, you don't think about it. You don't need to think about it because you're thinking about the content and you're thinking about the billable time as well. All right, so these are some unnatural phrases that you can stop sounding like a robot lawyer. All right. We have to get to usage. Now, you'll have a worksheet in front of you, and one will be on usage, and one will be on style. We are going to look at the usage. The second great skill of legal writing is usage. Most people think that come to English language courses think they have a problem with grammar. I'm in an English language course because I want to improve my grammar, right? And when I tell them, well, what is grammar without vocabulary? It's nothing. They work together in what we as linguists call usage, okay? So, and what we need to focus on, instead of saying, oh, I need to have this perfect grammar, is we need to focus on the golden rule and helping the reader get the content quickly and easily through our grammar. So the grammar is a tool that's combined with punctuation and vocabulary to get to the content quickly and easily. The goal, again, same goal, disappear. If you write something, make sure you do it for a reason. No unnatural phrases, no complex grammar if you don't need it. Do it for a reason. If you follow correct usage, then the reader will focus on the content. If you have grammar mistakes, if you have too much complex punctuation, lots of semicolons, lots of commas, Germans love commas, and so do people writing in English, lawyers, oftentimes, then the more commas you have, the more pauses there are, the more effort it takes for the reader. Okay, but remember, we don't want to lose the content either, so it's best just to stay accurate. Let's do a little accuracy test. Go ahead, we'll do the first two together, because I'll make it easy on you since you're new employees at Freshfields. You're not the senior lawyers that I had last week, and you're not the partners that I'm going to have in Moscow in September. So we'll make it a little bit easy for you. We'll do the first two together. All right, let's look at number one. Please call me until Thursday. Go ahead and make a suggestion to me. How could we improve the grammar? Julius, he knows.
At the latest is redundant and unnecessary.
At the latest is redundant? Is it redundant? I mean, it's a good point, but I don't know if it's redundant. We want to give them a deadline. But
Instead of Thursday, then
yeah.
please call me by Thursday.
So we know the grammar and the vocabulary that in English we would say by. Bis is by Thursday, not until. Germans make that mistake a lot. Sorry.
Yeah.
By until. Okay, so you caught that. All right. You'll never make that mistake again. This is particularly added for German speakers because bis causes confusion, because in German it would be translated until. Excellent. But Julius caught this other idea of the deadline. What's another grammar issue here? Usage issue. Anybody catch it? Go ahead.
I delete the two commenter.
I gotta make sure to stay in the camera. What? I'm sorry?
I will use the commas.
Okay, good. She's looking at commas as maybe extraneous, maybe as unnecessary. But what about what's inside the commas?
Oh, yeah.
Ah, the format of the date. What's wrong with it?
Well, it depends on who you write to, an American or a British person, but I would use 9 June and then write June as a word.
Okay. Okay, excellent. All right. Dorothea was saying that this could be either September or June, depending on who you're writing. And so Her format is the same format that we suggest, which you do basically the day in numbers, the month written, and then the year in numbers. Okay? I have not yet seen the Freshfields style guide, but we will have that. They might have something different. The first resource that you follow is the style guide, but if you don't have the style guide with you, then this is always clear. Okay, it's clear to an American, it's clear to a British person. You caught the by Thursday at 11 a.m. your time. Now see, this is where me and Julius slightly disagree, because he said at the latest was redundant, but I'm saying it's not good enough. It's not clear. It doesn't help the reader get the content. When do I want to call? When are we going to have the call? When is the deadline? The deadline is 11 a.m. your time, because I'm talking to you and you're in Australia and you're the client, and I want to make it as easy as possible for you to understand. So I'm going to look on Google for 2 seconds as the lawyer, as the person who's getting paid, right? And look at the time difference, and I'm going to write your time, and I'm going to pay attention to their time, which saves the client time and helps them get to the content, so they don't have to think about the actual, oh, is it in Vienna time, or is it in Munich time, or Frankfurt time, or, you know, Swahili, or, you know, what?
Don't they use CAT Central Europe time, or that it's more if he's traveling, or?
Okay, yeah, I like your time because it's easy. All right, Chris likes your time because it's easy. CET, EST, ESP, FBI. You're a smart guy, okay? And most people here will understand that. And most people that you're writing to will understand those 3-letter acronyms for Central European Time, or GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. But some people might not. You know, so this is the simplest way, but you could say CET, exactly. But the thing is that is clearer than some ambiguous deadline. At the latest. When is at the latest? Is that at the latest at 9 a.m., at close of business? What is at the latest? These are some different ways. On or before Thursday. What if I take out, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just one question.
Annabelle,
do you really
yeah?
need to do you really need to specify the year, like 2014, or?
Just please call me by Thursday at the latest. Yeah. So you exactly. So you see on these ones here exactly what you said. I mean, it depends on the context. Of course, you don't need to say the whole date if it's this Thursday or next Thursday. You know, but a lot of people can get the mistake there, Annabelle, and I'm glad you brought that up, is that people could say, hey, please call me next Thursday. So it's Monday, let's say it's Monday, example, let's say it's Monday, and then they call you, and they say, oh, please call me by next Thursday. Some people might get confused and think it's this week or next week. And some people might say, oh, next Thursday means next week. And some people might think, oh, next Thursday means this week. So I would definitely suggest, please call me by next Thursday the 9th, right? So you specify the actual day. You don't have to say 2019, but to specify the date makes it easier for the reader to capture what you want. And guess what? You're saving 1 or 2 emails back and forth. And I know what that's like, going back hundreds of times with different people, because we're dealing not only with Freshfields in Germany, but also in Manchester and everywhere else. So we want to get that, we want to minimize that communication back and forth. All right. And look at this, on or before Thursday. That means inclusive, right? You can call any time on Thursday. What if I just wrote, call me by Thursday. Or no, call me before Thursday. Does that mean that you can call me on Thursday? No. Right? But would I want to write that though? Isn't that kind of confusing? Yeah, I would say on or before Thursday, or call me by Wednesday, right? And then you would have Wednesday inclusive. And I wouldn't write inclusive. Chris would, but I would avoid that. Or before Friday. You see, that's a bit clearer. And then you have a lot of these in Annex B, you'll have time expressions. This is just the scratching the surface. Again, all of these are just scratching the surface. All right, we'll do this one together. This one together, then I'll let you do the rest by yourself, and we'll have a little challenge. And I got a little gift for those people who really impressed me. All right, let's do this one together. The authority issued a formal reply in which it stated that the merger notifications will be reviewed by our solicitors for our next session. Grammar, vocabulary, punctuation. What are the problems? Okay, who would like to point out one of the issues that they found? Okay, direct speech. Okay, this is quite. You're quite the grammarian. Can you explain to the rest of us what that means?
It means that we have to change the time. We need to say the merger notification was renewed by our solicitors for our next session. And I would leave out the in which it stated that. Just say the authority issued a formal reply which stated that.
Okay, right. Well, I'm sorry, what's your name? Denise. All right, Denise is already moving ahead of everyone else. Woo! into the third major rule, which is style. Our style of cut. Okay, and so she's pointing out some grammar nuances with speech and indirect speech, but there's some more obvious. I mean, she's really ahead of the game here. Denise is really good with her English, so I'm going to be calling on you later. But what about some more obvious mistakes? What about the quotes? Those are German quotes, aren't they? Notice that? How do we do quote marks in English? Or double inverted commas in British English? Up. Okay, make sure that on your keyboard that you have that correct. Now take a look. She talked about indirect and direct speech. Colon, comma. Okay? Before including a quote, you want to use a comma, not a different punctuation. Okay, this is a British and American English difference. Okay, in American English, the full stop or period, what we call period, always goes before the quotation marks. In British English, if the quote is part of the sentence, then the full stop goes outside of the double inverted commas. Okay, your style guide is going to help you with those specifics, but you want to make sure that you are this accurate. Freshfields expects you to be this accurate. All right, with what you're trying to do. All right, now you can have some fun, and you're on your own. Go ahead and do the rest of the items, number 3 through 8, and I'll give you about 10 minutes to do that on your own. just looking at grammar, vocabulary, okay? If you're finished or got farther, you can discuss it with the person sitting next to you, something. Maybe you have a question or something that you found or that you'd like to share. Some question about it. Okay, 1 more minute. Okay. All right, and yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah, and just about that last point, and again, I'll be pointing out where you can find the relevant material. Like, oh, I had no idea about all those rules for quotes, yet I'm using quotes all the time in my legal writing. Well, don't worry about it. You now have in the materials bank a 60-page materials bank, and in Annex D, you can find that out, okay? There's more than you could ever want from these materials banks. But no, that's not enough, I know. You guys want rewards. You want more. Okay, so I'm going to give you more. So, I want you guys to be very interactive in these next ones. You've done it yourself. All right, I want you to volunteer. And if people get very good answers, if I'm very impressed, then you get a Mozart Kugel brought all the way from Vienna. All right, and so we'll be handing these out. My assistant will be handing these out for those people who have really, really good answers. And because I know you're very competitive people, you know, the person who has the most Mozart Kugels at the end of the day is the ultimate badass legal writing expert. Okay, and you get that trophy. Okay, let's go ahead with the next one. All right, number 3. Who would like to go for the first Mozart Kugel? Go ahead.
There's one there, should be there with T-H-E-I-R.
Okay, there. You all learned this in grammar school. These are the kind of mistakes that you shouldn't make. Okay? Right, excellent. All right, but there's more. What's your name in the blonde? You?
Kristen.
Kristen, right. We met at the beginning. Okay, what's more than you?
I would say it's location and not locations.
Okay, excellent. Okay, location and locations. All right. Oh, wait. I tell you when to give them. You can give them out that, but those are pretty easy so far. Let's get a little bit more complex. Their locations were pretty easy. I want to give out these beautiful Mozart Kugels to the really sophisticated answers. Keep going.
I would say 5-star hotel.
Okay, a 5-star hotel. And is there anything else you would do with 5-star hotel? Put a Bindestrich?
Yeah.
Hyphen.
Hyphen.
Yeah, put a hyphen. Okay, now that's a good one. Now that definitely deserves a Mozart Kugel. All right, let's take oh, you find more. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about the locations, because it could be that those terms have multiple locations and only one is next to a 5-star hotel. So it could be.
We already heard that. But good, exactly.
So even though well, you shouldn't use passive language that much, maybe it would make more sense to say from being located next to 5 stars.
Okay. Well, you could use that, and that's a matter of style. Okay, but the key grammar problem was locations, which somebody caught and then you caught as well. Excellent. All right. Both firms benefit from their location next to a 5-star hotel. Let's take a look at some of the problems that lawyers make. The most frequent, again, we've done these frequency analysis on hundreds of thousands of mistakes that lawyers make, and these are the types of words that we see commonly over and over and again. Advice is a noun. Advise is a verb. You advise people, but you get advice. It's a thing. Then, right? Than is looking at comparing two things. Bigger than, smaller than. Then is a series. Principle. Okay? Anybody in finance law? You better know the difference between those two things if you're working in financial markets. But you can find a lot of these words, and the most frequent mistakes that lawyers make in Annex B. Then you have the hyphen. Now, hyphens are really key to legal writing, especially when you're looking at arbitration documents, contracts, things like that. Look at the first one. Trump-inspired racism. Okay? It's true. He did it. He did that. The second one, if you put a hyphen, becomes an adjective. It becomes a description of the type of racism that Trump inspired. You see? That changes the meaning of the sentence. First meaning, he did X. Second one, X was done. X is a type of that. So be careful with hyphens, and then there's rules on these. Again, in Annex B, you're going to see how you can use nouns and verbs as adjectives, connecting them with hyphens, looking at this idea of a 5-star hotel. Those things to connect, those things not to connect. And also with prefixes and suffixes as well. Number 4, okay. Who wants to win a Mozart Kugel? Okay, I'll eat them. Who would like to give us, take a shot? Number 4. Okay, great.
I'd say
Denise.
from conducting business via phone.
Ooh, I like that. It doesn't, it's not necessary. So by is not a mistake. But she's using her, obviously, native level speaking abilities. But by isn't a mistake. What is? Go ahead.
Me? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought about order the company to be the soul.
Okay.
That's what I found.
And then because the other stuff is...
I don't know, it was kind of missing something.
Well, from a grammatical perspective, this seems okay at first. Okay? But again, our goal here is not to make you good writers of English, but to make you superior writers in legal English, okay? So let's, but before I show you what's going on, go ahead.
Do we absolutely need a comma after fax? Like by phone, fax, or email?
Uh-huh.
Do you absolutely need a comma?
See, this is a good question. See, she's posing this in the form of a question rather than making the assumption that her change is correct. So this is a definitely person who's ready to become a lawyer. Now, but what she's done, what Annabelle's done, is actually hit on the main point. The main point is that there's too many commas, and those commas are between lists. Lawyers never write lists, do they? You never have to write a list of items. But you get it wrong all the time. So let's get it right now, and we never have this mistake again. All right. If you have a long list, you use a semicolon to separate items. So if the list item is one word, like phone, fax, email, then you use commas to separate it. If it's a longer item, like a phrase, which is typically what you have to do in your legal writing, then you separate those items by semicolons. Now look at this. Just a second. Oh, no, go ahead.
Instead of using semicolons, would it also be a sufficient way to use like numbering? So say, of course, first order the company dissolved, then secondly, place the property and so on.
Yeah. So what you're looking at, I'm sorry, what was your name?
Justus.
Eustace. So what Eustace is saying is that, well, he would change the sentence completely. He would make it 2 sentences or 3 sentences, first, second, third, with a clear ordering. That is one way to solve the problem, and definitely Eustace is a lawyer as well, because he's avoiding the complex grammar and using the way that he can definitely get to the solution by still looking good, right? So that is a solution, but don't forget that you can keep it in one sentence, and if the long list makes it very clear. Okay, so your way works, but that's an alternative. What we're looking at is fixing this in one sentence, okay? And so how you do that is you place the semicolons between the longer list of items. Now take a look also at the logic of the sentence, guys, because don't forget, it has to make sense. Take a look at the ordering. We changed the ordering, didn't we? Why? Because, here's a tip. If you have a list within a list, that's a lot of commas, a lot of punctuation, right? Put the list within the list at the end. You see how we did that? Phone, fax, or email. It makes it clearer. So you have the list, and then you have this at the end. Also, it makes sense that a logical ordering, that the court ordered the company dissolved as the first thing that happened before actually executing on that. But the idea here is a list within a list. Use semicolons, and then you use commas within the semicolons. That's one of the main uses of the semicolons. Okay?
Why do we need the last comma, like after the fact?
Phone, fax, or email. Oh, that's called the Oxford comma.
Okay.
And that's just a matter of style. So English is not like German. English doesn't have so many rules. And this is one of the ones that's a common dispute between linguists. It's like you have to deal with stuff in law school that you don't like to deal with and hear about all the time. I went to Cambridge and have to deal with the Oxford comma, whether you should or shouldn't use the Oxford comma. And now my company has a contract with Oxford to do a pre-master's degree program. So I'm very excited and honored to be asked to do that from Oxford University, who obviously made the dictionary. But what do I teach? I don't teach. And actually, as a matter of fact, if you look on my Twitter page, a Supreme Court Justice responded to a Twitter post. I responded to one of his Twitter posts about the Oxford comma, and he liked it. Yeah, so I'm very excited that I'm teaching you exactly what the Supreme Court justice would teach about the Oxford comma, okay? And, which is, be consistent. Either you use it or you don't. But don't use it one time and not use it another time. Okay, in this case we've used it. Chris uses it, but since I went to Cambridge, I don't use it. Leave it to the Oxford folks. Okay. Number 5. All right. Well, I'm gonna give the first one to you and see if you can add something. Go ahead.
The way it is put makes it seem like the laws are combating fair competition and combating the protection of human rights, and not only combating corruption.
Stand here. I gotta remember the camera. Yeah, exactly. So how do we fix it? FICO.
I would put promoting. I would say including those aimed at combating corruption, promoting competition, and protecting human rights.
Okay, great. I guess it depends on what kind of lawyer you are. And in this case, you would definitely want to protect human rights. And okay, exactly. So what he did, how did you fix that? Excellent. So this is a very good catch because wow, the meaning was changed big time. How did you fix it?
Just include the words that, just include like what needs to be done, like promoting. I mean, I can't explain.
Exactly. Well, what we call that is parallel structure, parallel construction, where if you have like for like, and if you have verb, 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 and notice that it's in the same thing. It's not combating to promote, it's the same type of word too. So the word form is the same and it's consistent. And you got to make sure that that is not going to confuse the reader. Excellent. Next one. And because actually FICO got that amazingly correct, the first time I've ever heard anybody get the exact same words as on our slide, he gets a Mozart piece. Okay. And I see you guys got some other toys. Some toys? This is definitely the millennial generation in here. They're bringing toys to their law firm induction. No, this is a joke. It's a joke. What are the toys? I'm just curious. Yeah.
They're already here. We didn't bring them.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, these are not from us, all right, because they don't have our branding. But I wonder what these are going to be about. It looks quite interesting. All right. Okay. Next one. Who would like to go? Okay. You don't have to go. But we're going to have a break, and they put coffee and cakes and things right outside for the break. So you can take as long as you need. Go ahead.
I would use an uppercase C for constitution, and I think I would US and use dots in
U.S. Constitution, you would put dots in between here. Okay, now this is a really good point because this is correct, right? But you're also correct. So which one do I use? Well, you use what the firm style guide says, right? And if you don't have a style guide, then you use whatever the partner wants. And we're going, don't worry, it's like, well, what does the partner want? Partner A wants this, partner B wants that. Some people write US, some people write U.S. How can I get it right? We're going to give you a tool. An easy tool to get that right, okay? Just bear with me, and then we will give you an editing tool that's going to save your life dealing with different partners and their different ways of writing English. Okay, but she also caught this capitalization error, but there's more than that. All right? Oh, I didn't give anybody a chance to get a Mozart Kugel, so, but Dorothea, she should get a Mozart Kugel anyways. Yeah, go ahead. So 75%. Don't put numbers at the beginning of sentences or at the end of sentences. Okay? It doesn't look nice. Okay? And notice if you write a number, you put a hyphen between a number. And a lot of people in contract drafting, we also do contract drafting. So if you would like another workshop from us, maybe later as in your career, then you can say, yeah, we would like another workshop, and I want that contract drafting one. Because in contract drafting, we also teach that if it's a long number, like you have to write out several numbers, you do have to put hyphens in between all of the numbers. Just if any of you write contracts. Anybody going and doing contracts in here? Okay, a few of you, great. All right. And see, no, we have 75% of voters, okay, of the voters, okay? This is correct, but it's not the best. We can remove that, the. It's necessary. Rejected the proposed amendment to the U.S. Constitution, okay? He kept the same style, but yours was also correct, by the way.
Why do we use to and not of? Of the U.S. Constitution, we use to the
Yeah.
U.S.
Because to goes with amendment. And thank you for catching that. Excellent, excellent catch. And that is going to be in Annex C. So the numbers issue with 75% is you're going to find in Annex B. And then exactly what you said, in preposition errors, you're going to find in Annex C. Many lawyers make a mistake because this is what's called a particle, a preposition that goes with a specific verb. You know what? One of the things I don't like about the German language, I love German, but I never got the der, die, das thing. Okay? Why is my daughter das Mädchen? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But it's something you just have to learn, right? Right? I mean, there is a system, der Mann, die Frau, right? But you just have to learn. Same thing with these verbs that have a specific preposition. Okay? And there's the list of the most frequent verbs that lawyers make mistakes on are in Annex C. Amendment to instead of amendment of. Excellent catch. I think he gets a Mozart Kugel for that. Ulysses. No. What's your name? Maximilian, that's right. I'm trying to remember all your names as we go, but it's quite difficult. Big group.
Actually, it's about number 5. Is it possible that aimed also is used with another preposition? Like I normally use aimed at, but can you also use aim to with another meaning?
No, you aim something at.
Okay.
You aim at a target.
Okay.
Yeah. This is an interesting though, because you can also aim to in the sense of a goal. In the sense of our aim is to. Yeah, our mission is to do something. But notice the difference. To would require a verb. Our aim is to teach you very good legal writing and fix all your mistakes, right? Our aim is to do something. But we're aiming at an object. Great. Good find. Also Mozart Kugel for her. Don't worry. I got a backup bag of Mozart Kugels in case we run out. All right?
Mr. Jones works as an attorney at the firm for 6 years.
All right. Again, this is the mistake that all Germans make because your language is different. All right. He said, already for the firm.
At the firm. Or maybe it should be since 6 years or instead of 4.
Okay? Not this time, but who can help him? Denise.
I would say Mr. Jones has already been an attorney for 6 years.
Yes. Okay, and why would she use, now this is going to solve this grammar problem that you've had since the time you were 13 and you were sitting in your English class and they taught you this back then, and then they taught you this when you were 14, and then they taught you this when you were 15, and then you stopped listening. Because you said, I've heard this too many times. Let's fix this right now. What's the rule? All right, let me call on somebody else. It's not. Yeah. Go ahead.
You use since when you refer to a specific date of beginning, for example.
Yeah.
And you use for if you refer to the period from the specific date.
Exactly. So it's a range, a date range, isn't it? Isn't that simple? Now you know you're never going to make that mistake again. Now you know. Okay, so Mr. Jones has been, because we're talking about the present perfect, and we know this is one of the biggest challenges for German speakers because you don't have the same type of present perfect, has been an attorney with the firm for 6 years or since 2013, right? So since 2013, a specific date, or for 6 years, a date range. Okay? How long have you been a lawyer? How long have you been a lawyer, Eunice?
Been a lawyer for 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks. Okay, somebody used since. How long have you been a lawyer, Maximilian?
Since February.
Since February. All right, good. All right. And Eustace, how long have you been a lawyer for?
2 months.
2 months. Okay, so a bit longer than him. All right, you've got a little bit more tenure. A little bit more tenure. You're more of a senior associate. Great. All right. So now that problem's solved. Your present perfect. Forget about it. When do we use present perfect? By the way, it's something that starts in the past and continues to have significance to today. Yeah. That's it. It's not a grammar class though. Okay, now this is where commas, and this will be the last one and then we'll take a break. This is where commas can cause changes in meaning when we talk about what's called relative clauses, all right? And I'm not going to get into grammar, linguistics. Bless you, I'm not going to get into linguistics because I'll start to sound like a linguist and nobody wants to hear from a linguist, right? Just like nobody wants to hear lawyer language. Okay, so we'll skip the grammar lesson and go right to the real issue, which is the meaning here.
Meaning can be misinterpreted for implying that all Americans are patriotic. In this case,
What do you mean all Americans aren't patriotic?
Americans who are patriotic, it's saying Americans are patriotic, therefore they will vote.
Yeah.
So you should maybe clarify that patriotic Americans vote. So you could say patriotic Americans usually vote.
Okay, I like this. I like what he's doing. Again, what he's doing is reformulating. Okay, it's exactly what you did earlier when you said first, second, third. He said, let me reformulate. But there's a grammar error here. This doesn't say anything. Right? It's either you have 2 commas or you remove the commas. Is that where you were going to lead at, Annika? Tell us then. Come on, teach
I
us.
think if you have 2 commas, it would say Americans usually vote, and then it says American. But if you have no commas, it says only Americans who are patriotic usually vote.
Okay, so exactly. So let me summarize that. And basically, what she's saying is that if you have a comma here, you say Americans are patriotic, usually, or Americans are patriotic and they usually vote. So it's kind of like 2 things. but this information is not necessary to the sentence, right? You can say, you can have a subject verb object sentence by just saying Americans usually vote. And then you added the information, who are patriotic. It's not necessary to create the sentence, but it's important for you to add that information. You get it? Now, that's when we use the commas. When we don't use the commas is when that information is essential to create the sentence. So if I need to have who are patriotic in the sentence in order to formulate the thought, then I won't use the commas, okay? It's called non-defining and defining. So relative clauses, if you say who, that, which, whose, these kind of phrases, you'll know if it's key information or part of the definition, no commas. Citizens who are registered may vote. See, if I add the commas, citizens who are registered may vote, then I have lost this essential. If I just say citizens may vote, that's a different sentence. I've lost the meaning of the sentence. So therefore, we wouldn't use the commas because it's essential information. It's part of the definition. It's defining the sentence that they are registered. But if it's just extra information, like Americans are patriotic, I mean, do we really have to write that? We all know that Americans are patriotic, right? The Swiss Civil Code, which is filled with complex legal jargon, is obsessive. Okay, it might be true, and it is true that the Swiss Legal Code is filled with excessive legal jargon, but this information isn't absolutely essential to define the sentence. Yet we want to add it, so we add it with the commas. All right, and a lot of people get that confused or mistakes. Any questions about that? All right. Conclusion. In the materials bank, you're going to have 25 common errors. These are the most common errors that people make with grammar. You don't have to go back and get a grammar book. You don't have to go online and take some course in your free time. You don't have to do any of that. You only have to fix your grammar for law, right? For your job. All right, so take a look at it. You take 15 minutes and review it at some point, not now, but take 15 minutes and review that. Second thing, if you don't have time, which you don't, which you're on billable time, check the big things. If that hyphen changes the meaning, you could lose the case. And you don't believe me, that's why the big corporations and law firms hire us. They don't just hire us for training, they also hire us to analyze translations because people use strategic translations in order to try and win cases. And this has happened in a $4 billion case I worked on with a certain government and a certain oil company. And they were using strategic translations. So I would say if you don't have time to check all these details, make sure that the meaning is clear. The meaning needs to be clear. And a lot of people think, oh, we don't want to print. I suggest, because we want to save the environment, that we don't print the materials banks, but all the law firms print the materials banks anyway. And the reason they do that is because actually if you print something, you can look at it in a new way. And this happened with one of my business partners. One of my business partners, a senior official, a senior attorney in the Austrian Ministry of Interior. There still are a few people that work there. And and she's an police. She's a senior advisor to the commissioner on police control and anti-terrorism, and she finished her PhD recently, and she had the final draft, and she was like, I'm just going to send it, I'm done with it. And I said, no, Angelica, print it, or Dr. Tsader, print it. Because then you can maybe find something you didn't see before. She's like, but it's 200 pages, you know. I said, and she says, I've already gone through it 100 times. And I said, but just before you send it to, just print it one time. And she did, and she found some things she needed to change. So there's something about printing that makes a difference. And then the edit sheet, and this is how you're going to please the partners. And if you say, well, why do I need to please the partners? Because I tell you what, if you make them happy, then you're going to get that promotion rather than the other people in the room. And this is our edit sheet in Annex E, and we'll get to the break right away. But this is really important. In Annex E, there's an example edit sheet. You can copy it, you can make your own. It's basically based on alphabet. A, B, C, D. You know, you talked about, somebody mentioned US. So if I had US and I had one partner that liked to write US with U.S. What I do is, if I'm looking at that person's document, if I'm looking at that person's email that I'm supposed to fix, if I'm looking at that person's memo or report or whatever it is, then I start to pay attention to how they do stuff. Do they write with a big E mail, an E hyphen mail, or a little e mail? Those little things, and then what you do is you have one of these sheets for each partner. Trust me, it works. You know, I want to see you become the next partner, right? And I want to see you be very successful in your job, because my company is going to stay for this generation of partners and the next generation of partners. And so we hope to maintain our excellent relationship, which we've already had for over 10 years with Freshfields. But what you do is you have one of these for each partner, or even, you know, one of these for yourself, what you prefer. And then you can definitely make them say, wow, you really know how I write. And you have this secret thing in your file, all right? So this is an Annex C. And then I'll preview the next one by taking a look at this. This will be the last thing we do, and then we'll take a 15-minute break and have some coffee. What are the grammar and the usage problems in this? Can you point any out? It's a challenge. Good. Okay, anybody want to attempt to give me a grammar problem in this? There are no grammar mistakes. There are no usage mistakes. What about the tone? It's very formal. It's appropriate formality. It's appropriate grammar, usage. Vocabulary is correct. Look at, they even wrote without a single comma. But it sucks, doesn't it? There's something wrong with this piece of writing, isn't it? And that's going to be the last part of the workshop. The final hour will be devoted to the third great skill that you have to implement, which is style. Right? Not only do you have to wear a tie, but you have to wear an appropriate tie. This is my German tie. Yeah, I have a different tie for each country that I buy, or that is a gift from somebody from that country, right? And that way I look like you. Right? I'm sorry that I can't talk like you, but I at least play the part So my style is appropriate to the audience, right? And this is something to pay attention to. Let's take a look at how we've changed this, and this is a preview that you're going to be doing yourself. Is it better? Because I followed the golden rule when I rewrote this. What's the golden rule? Help the reader get the content quickly and easily. Now, come on. And the golden rule of legal writing is to help the reader, everybody together, get the content quickly and easily. Okay, great. Let's take a 15-minute break. You can have your coffee and your cake, and we'll be back in 15 minutes. Actually, Freshfields did not set up that coffee break. The hotel did that for us. Yeah, because they said, oh, wow, we know that the legal writing coach is coming, so we're going to make it. We know that everybody's going to be exhausted after 2 hours, so we're going to give them a nice coffee break with full service. All right, so we looked at the style. We first looked at the tone and formality factors, then we looked at usage and grammar. We've got through all that in a little over 2 hours. Congratulations on that. Let's burn through style. Style is something that is not easy, right? Because it's individualized. Everybody has their own style, right? Well, they should, right? But everybody has their own style of writing. Everybody writes uniquely. What is the difference between good and bad style? This is really hard to dictate. What we teach is good style is removing bad style. Because if you're drafting something, you're drafting blah, 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 blah. You're drafting all your thoughts, like, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name from Brazil.
Emilia.
Emilia. So Emilia has a PhD, and I'm sure that she has drafted to draft that PhD. You have to, and I also have a PhD, and you have to write a lot. And drafting is like blah 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 blah. And then what do you have to do? What's the one way to fix all that blah 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 blah? Just like this blah 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 is to cut. So you can turn bad style into good style through the technique of cutting. Okay? And some of you might disagree with some of the cutting that I'm going to show you the examples, but we like to go to extremes to make sure you remember it. Okay? So, it might start a good discussion. So, let's take a look. What do you cut? What do I cut, Josh? Okay, we know you cut the unnatural phrases, pursuant to and so forth and so on. You can simplify those. It is herewith enclosed. Please find, and so forth. But one of the easiest ways to think about concise concision of cutting of a good style is to think of syllables, the amount of sounds that a word has. And then the second way is the number of words in the sentence. So if you think, wow, that seems to be a long phrase. When we looked at that, this one, you have a lot of words in each sentence. And then you also have these words like commencement and so forth and so on of determination with many syllables. This is one of the things that they say is amazing about Donald Trump, and I am no fan of Donald Trump, but he can convey a message like they say that he talks at the level of a 6-year-old. Now he thinks at the level of an 8-year-old, but no, he's very clever. He's very clever. And this is how he wins, is by keeping it super, super simple with words that have only 1 or 2 syllables, maybe 3, and short sentences. And this is an insight I'll give you into why medical writing and the medical profession is so far advanced in comparison, in some ways, in academia to legal and other professions, because in medical journals, they require that you follow certain rules, which are called readability indexes that have simplification systems for syllables and words. So they say if you want to get published in a top medical journal, international medical journal, that it has to be at the level of like an 8th grader or a 7th grader. Okay? Why? Because it's not just medical researchers that need to read the new research. It's also doctors, it's also nurse practitioners, it's of several people in the field, it's also technical people. And so in order to capture all these people, you need to simplify the amounts of words in the sentence and the amount of syllables in the words. And most legal texts require somebody with a university level education to read. A university level. So you want to take that down a bit so where more people can access exactly what you're trying to write. And this is how we do it. Take a look. 28 words, 47 syllables. Here's the edit. Cut, cut, cut. What do I cut? We'll show you. Here's the, now this is how we've taken this from 28 words to 11 words. And it says the same thing. Regulatory agencies. 8 syllables. Regulators. 4 syllables. Same thing. All right. Who feels like cutting some stuff? Yay! I'm excited to cut. Anybody? Okay. All right. You guys don't get excited about grammar and language as I do, but you will when it starts making you a lot of money. All right. You know, obviously, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know, what's the German phrase for that? Yeah, das Kind mit dem. Ja, das Kind nicht mit dem Bade ausschütten. Yeah, nicht mit dem Bade ausschütten. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead. Now you have a second worksheet. We'll do the first one together. Take 1 minute. Look at the number 1. We'll do the first one together and make it easy for you. Take 1 minute. See what you can cut. Again, we're not doing grammar. We're not doing tone. We're doing cut. Okay, who would like to take take a chance at this one. Go ahead.
Since the issue was not raised at trial, it cannot be contested on appeal.
Wow, I think that's really good. I mean, that's like Mozart Kugel level that. This is what we cut. What did Denise, did Denise find? Legal jargon. Lots of legal jargon. That's what she cut. Cut the legal jargon. Okay, this is our version, but I like her version as well. I'm sorry. As demonstrated here and above, as shown. Okay. So legal jargon is also called legalisms. And you can cut it. One of the tips that we say is, how would I say it? Right? And if you read that sentence out loud, as demonstrated here and above, the fact that you failed to raise the issue of trials amounts to a repudiation of your right to, ooh, that already sounds wrong. So how would I say it? And then that's a tip to find out, to identify yourself where that legal jargon is, because you don't use that legal jargon when you're speaking. You use it when you're writing. And then there's what's called red flags. And red flags are something that you can pay attention to. It's good to take a look at Annex F and to notice some of these red flag words, because again, these are red flags, like ding ding. Oh, once I see this word, there's 50% chance that there's a problem with it, or it could be cut. Let's take a look. Fact. Said. Like, so if you say fact, due to the fact that, in light of the fact that, completely unnecessary phrase, but the red flag word is fact. If I see something's a fact, it's a red flag to indicate to me, maybe that thing can be cut. And there's a whole a list of red flag words. Another one, with regards to, with respect to, these kind of phrases, completely unnecessary phrases, cut. Written consent is required in respect of any transfer of a majority share. Written consent is required to transfer a majority share. You see, you could cut that completely. It makes it a lot cleaner. The opinion focuses on regulations regarding banking. So with regard to, with respect to, regarding, what is regarding? On banking regulations, okay? So this is a cleaner style to take a look at these, you know, said. This is one that lawyers love to use, you know, said case, said person, said this, said that. Okay, that's very legal jargon, and it can oftentimes be cut. Okay, go ahead and complete the rest of the worksheet on your own, and you can also work with the person sitting next to you or in a small group if you'd like, if your brain needs a little help. See what you can do. About 8 minutes. About 3 more minutes. About 3 more minutes. Don't worry if you don't finish. Okay, 1 more minute? You need 1 more minute? Yeah, she's like, no, I'm ready. Good, you get the first one. All right. Okay, couple people need more time. We'll just give you 1 more minute. Finish the one you're on. Okay, great. All right. Don't worry if you don't finish. We're looking for the best cuts, and the best cuts will get the Mozart Kugels. And we'll try and move through this quite swiftly so we can get done. We will be a little bit over time, but we started late. Not due to me, by the way, but we'll be just cut into your lunch about 5 minutes. But let's see how fast we can get through this. What do you think? Who would like to go ahead? I think you're ready to go.
I am finished because I'm very lost in this foreign words. Sorry.
You're lost in the exercise, so you had a lot of difficulty. Okay, don't worry. Through the exercise, it'll start to open your awareness to what we're trying to do, okay? Who would like to go ahead and take a chance at number 2? How about me, if nobody volunteers? Or you? Yeah? From Spain. I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Arantxa.
Huh?
Arantxa.
Aranja.
Arantxa, yeah.
Aranja. Oh, that's
It
the
is
first time I heard that name. It's very beautiful.
It is a very Spanish name, yeah. It doesn't exist in Latin America or other Spanish-speaking countries. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. Okay, great. Aranja, go ahead.
In this case, the ruling by the lower court limits the effect on vital cross-examination.
Limits the effect. Good. Look at how many words she removed just by changing had a limited effect to limits. I think that's Mozart Kugel time. Okay, take a look. You know, not only are we looking at cutting, you can cut. So what we're doing here, just for the people that might got lost, okay, is that I'm showing you what to cut. Okay? You know you have to cut something. You know it's better legal style if you cut. So the first thing to look for, to be aware of, to cut, is legal jargon. The next thing to look for and cut are phrases, long phrases. Exactly, like in the present case, due to the fact that. See, fact was one of our red flag words, wasn't it? And this is a phrase. It's an unnatural phrase. The phrase says nothing. That's okay if you're a politician, but why should lawyers be using phrases that have no substance? Unless that's your purpose, which is fine. But most of the things that you're trying to do, unless you're a litigator, who's in litigation? Okay, I knew it. And you too. Okay, great. I knew that these two were going to be. But most of you are corporate attorneys and not doing litigation. You really want to use that substance correctly and get rid of all these phrases like these kind of things that don't say anything. Excellent, excellent. So we looked at here. Here is one word that means that leads the reader to the present case. Here, at this point. So we still need some kind of indicating word, but we don't need a whole phrase. We can get rid of due to the fact that. We can get rid of had a limited effect on. This was excellent. An excellent catch to change limited. And, okay, excellent. Okay, so and then these red flag phrases. You can use here instead of in the case at hand, in the instant case, in the current case, in the case at bar. All those phrases are too many words. Just say here. As, since, because can be used instead of on the grounds that, for the reason that, taking into consideration the fact that, you laugh because you've used it. Who's used this? Yeah? Some of you have used this already. I know. I did too, before I met Chris Jensen. And he cleared me of this. Okay, number 3. Who wants to give it a shot? Somebody who hasn't gone. Excellent. Okay, go ahead.
The contract is invalid because Ms. Smith was 17 at the date of signing.
Okay, good. Notice what he did there. I'm sorry, what your name was?
Jochen.
Joachim. Okay, notice what Joachim did here. He changed the subject, the focus of the sentence, to the contract. And then he did subject, verb, object. He put the emphasis on the actor and the action. The contract is invalid. He put that right at the front. I think that's Mozart Kugel time for Joachim. What we call our throat clearing phrases. These are the ones like the politicians use. Like, Mr. Straka, what's this videotape where you're found in Ibiza talking about selling political favors to Russian oligarchs? At that time was a long time ago. So you can do that when you're speaking, and politicians are very good at these throat clearing phrases. Although you should just shut your mouth when there's damning video evidence, like in the case I just mentioned, as any lawyer would recommend. But if you put these throat clearing phrases in a text, it's just a big waste of time. So not only do we have legal jargon we need to remove, general phrases we need to remove that don't have any substance. All right? We also need to look at these throat clearing phrases. That's exactly what Joachim did, but what I really liked about what he did is he took the meat of the sentence, which is the contract, and the invalidation of that contract, and he put it up front. Bam! The contract is invalid because she was 17 when she signed it. Clear, concise, no extra throat clearing phrases. Here's a tip. If you see that, it is important to keep in mind the fact that at the beginning of a sentence, that's a red flag. Some big long phrase that ends with that is probably a waste of paper. We have looked into the matter and have concluded that. Concluded what? I just got lost, all right? I have to. I got a text message. I gotta go. Before they even get to the content, right? It goes without saying that, okay? And then you're going to find these throat-clearing phrases and how to get rid of those and how to fix those in Annex G. Okay, great job, Joachim. Next one. Who has not gone but would really like to attempt? Okay, who got to this one? Who got this far? Anybody want to try? Okay, super. Go ahead.
I might miss the deadline because I'm checking for violations of the code that could result in criminal prosecution.
Okay, but FICO's smart. He's avoiding this whole point, right? I'm not making any promises, all right? But what if that's important?
Then you should include it.
What if it's important if you recognize your error and then you make a guarantee that error won't happen again? So it maybe something could be included, but it could be smoother. It could be less of a promise.
Maybe we could say.
No, go ahead. You first. I just want to make sure.
Maybe we could say, I'm sorry, I will miss the deadline this time.
Yeah, okay, so what she's saying is that she's assuaging the situation. She's making the situation a little bit, she's buffering it to make it a little bit softer. She's softening the blow.
Soften it down so it will not happen again.
It will not happen again. Cut the promise because the promise is implied. And you know what? Forget about promises. How about guarantees? That's what people like. That's what people like. And when people ask us, well, what if we're not happy with a workshop, or what if you can improve it? If you're not 100% satisfied, you get your money back. How about that? Right? Simple. Just, I don't say I promise. Just say it is. I like that. That's a really good, and I think that's Mozart Kugel time for you. All right. So we've cut and we've seen the complexity of this. One of the things, though, that we're seeing in this sentence is redundancies. Redundancies are things that are implied information. Again, like the promise, exactly what FICO was saying. I promise, okay? The reason why, it's implied. I might miss the deadline because I am checking for violations. The reason why, that means, a lot of people write that means. Just write what it means. Just write the reason. You don't have to tell us this is the reason why. We know it's the reason why. Most people are educated to some extent. All right. And again, in the future, we know it's in the future. You don't have to tell us it's in the future. And so these are things that cut. Extra information that's implied. As long as it doesn't remove the content. You don't want to change the meaning of something just to cut a redundancy. But lawyers are too safe when it comes to writing and want to make sure all the bases are covered. That ends up in lots of redundancies. And so when you think, what can I cut? You can cut a lot of redundancies. I might miss the deadline because I'm checking for the violations and could result in criminal punishment. It will not happen again. So we did make that promise, and we will say it won't happen again. What if it happens again? Did you lose the client? Depends on the situation. But you should work really hard to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Yeah, that's the more important thing that I can teach you than legal writing, is to deliver to your clients and customers. And that's exactly why our business is successful, because we are obsessed with delivering high quality every time. And if we make a mistake, we try our best not to ever make that mistake twice. And so in Annex H, what you're going to find is a whole list of terms that lawyers use over and over again that mean the same thing. Hey, well, it's a mutual agreement. Aren't all agreements mutual? It's past, this person's past history. Isn't all history in the past? But we see these things over and over again, individually tailored. So there's a whole list of these redundancies, common redundancies, in Annex H. Okay, 5. We're moving forward. We're going to make the time. Who would like to try? Go for it.
Cybercrime only damages the reputation of the company that has been attacked, but may also lead to legal claims against the company. Not too serious.
Okay, good. Has a negative impact on. She just changed that to a shorter phrase. Damages the reputation. And now this is an interesting change of meaning, because what she's instead of saying negative impact on the image of, she's changed the meaning slightly to focus on the reputation. Okay, image is reputation, right? Yeah, but it's not as big. Image is important, but reputation is the essence of your company. So I think that was a very good improvement. And also, she also cut. In the back, I didn't hear. Yeah, would you like to try as well?
Okay. Cybercrime not only has a negative impact on the attacked company's image, but may also lead to equally serious legal claims against it.
Great. Okay, so she kept the wording, which is great, but what she did is she shortened it by getting rid of this of, right? So then you see of the, and she's changed that into the possessive, which was also a smart transition. Okay. Oh, sorry, go for the lady in the back. And that's exactly what we were looking at too. I mean, I love the damages the reputation as a very native speaker sounding phrase, but also we're looking at this form of to be and which are, has been, has a, of the, All these things can be cut. This is our improvement. So we know that once we introduce these words like which or who or that, there's going to be more words. And that's where we say, when I see that, is there a way that I can cut that and make it cleaner? Okay, 6. Who would like to go? We're getting through this. We're almost done. Take a shot.
Law 22 does not provide the time to take IT security regulation.
Wonderful. And I definitely think that that's another Mozart-Kugel for you. Maximilian is, I think he's in the lead on the Mozart-Kugel. I don't know. But he took out the provisions of right away. And somebody else wanted to try that? Okay, no, I think that's good enough. Nominalizations, okay, nominalizations. I used to teach in academia. I've been faculty at University College London, and I've been faculty at University of Reading, and I was faculty at University of Vienna, and I taught professors how to publish their papers. Lots of fun, right? For me. And in the law school as well. And we teach nominalizations as part of academic writing. But how many people actually read academic papers? They feel so proud about their publishing records, but nobody actually reads their papers. And we teach them not to nominalize, because nominalization using ION and these kind of suffixes in a sentence, it makes it sound real smart, but it really adds a lot of words, and it really makes it less clear. So I really love this revision of Maximilian by cutting out that nominalization completely and say Law 22 does not regulate IT security in detail. Okay, and then again, give assistance. So what you have here is another red flag is weak surplus verbs. A surplus verb is a verb that helps another verb, right? It's surplus, but it's weak. How do I change this? What's the word? What should I say? Assist. Find a solution. Solve. Take a course of action. Act. Thank you. And that's, you can find these list of these red flags and things like that in Annex L. 7. Anybody want to try it? Go ahead.
You may benefit from a tax holiday if you invest in undeveloped areas, in new technologies, or in education of employees.
Nice. So what he did is he said, oh, well, this is redundant, saying a tax holiday for, a tax holiday for, a tax holiday for, and he's combined those things into one short list. Definitely Mozart-Kugel for that. I hope you guys eat Mozart-Kugels. They're probably like, oh man, that's what all they've been doing is this induction training is just feeding us. Can we stop with the food? I'm on a diet, right? All right. But this is our love from Vienna, right? We bring love from Vienna. Okay. So here's the tip on the list. We looked at lists earlier in the form of semicolons for longer list items, using semicolons to separate items in a longer list. But look at this. This is a good tip to have here. Make the lead-in to the list as long as possible. So what we did is we said, what are these things? How can we combine those, just like FICO did? And then at the end, I'm going to show you. You may benefit from a tax holiday for investing in underdeveloped areas, clean technologies, or employee education. So the lead-in to the list, right, is at the front, and the list itself is at the end of the sentence. Just like in the earlier example, when we changed the list within the list, which was fax, email, or phone, we put that list, that short list, at the end. And it's the same concept here when we're talking about cutting in style, is that we make the lead-in to the list, the longer part, and the list as short as possible at the end. Do you see that? All right, super. Bonus. So we're almost finished. I'm just going to give you a couple bonus things now, and then we can go have more food. Oh, great, yeah. Before the next great lecture. All right. Another bonus. Cut adverbs and adjectives. The meat of any statement is in its nouns and verbs. You know, I have a 5-year-old daughter, and I'm teaching her how to read, and I'm teaching her how to read by reading. Imagine that. That she's not doing these long, boring practice exercises, but we're just getting into a book. And what am I doing? As I'm reading with her, I'm having her guess certain words based on the pictures, and she's looking at those words. But which words? The nouns. Delphine. Dolphin. And she likes a book on dolphins. And there's the other one. Tint. So I'm having her recognize those nouns and the verbs, because those are the real meat. And those are the words that she can start to see, and it's called sight reading, blah, blah, blah. But in any case, you can cut adverbs and adjectives and make something more meaty. I'm going to give you the best example. You wouldn't even believe how good this example is going to be. Look, it's obvious that the defendant committed terrible crimes. It's obvious, right? Few situations are obvious. But here's another reason why to get rid of the word obvious. Because if you say, well, isn't it obvious? You know, and I've seen this a lot of times with lawyers. Boy, you know what? If you're talking to a client and you say, it's obvious, you could get on the wrong side of that client. Because what you're doing is you're using condescending language. It's obvious. Isn't it obvious? You know? Get rid of the word obvious. Just get rid of it, because then you'll avoid losing a client. Imagine if you lose a client because he thinks, what's this 22, 25-year-old, you know, I'm the executive manager of a big corporation telling me it's obvious. Right? Just avoid it completely in your writing and in your speaking. And then this is how you can get to that meat. Take a look at this example. This is the last thing we'll do, and then we'll close out for the day. This is a Supreme Court case in the United States. We're using a U.S. example here. And it goes into detail about the reasoning behind the judge's outcomes. Atkins versus Annex. The legal question was whether the 8th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution forbids execution of the mentally retarded. Atkins, who was determined to be partially mentally retarded, killed Nesbitt. Now take a look. That's a long explanation, isn't it? Haven't I just been spending the last hour teaching you to cut? But what have I been teaching you to cut? Have I been teaching you to cut facts? Have I been teaching you to cut your argument? No, I haven't been teaching you to cut your argument. I've been teaching you to cut redundant information. I've been teaching you to cut unnatural phrases. I've been teaching you to cut adverbs and adjectives that don't fit in the sentence. And I've been teaching you to cut things that are distracting. But this long-winded dissent from Justice Scalia, who was a very famous U.S. Supreme Court judge, for his opinions, obviously, this is a piece of brilliant writing, because look at what he's done here. He has made this partially retarded defendant look like a serious criminal. They were drinking alcohol and smoking marijuana. Those are concrete details, right? He doesn't even mention the partner in crime. What's the partner in crime's name? It doesn't matter, because it's this guy who was a murderer, right? Their victim was this guy, an airman. He's giving life to the victim through concrete detail, not some adjectives and adverbs, but concrete detail. From Langley Air Base, this was a real human guy and an American hero that he killed. And then they give you a specific amount of money that was withdrawn. They then took him, right? And he was pleading, please don't hurt me, just take my money. So he created this story, didn't he? But he's created it through concrete detail. And then he shot him not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times until he was dead. And not only 7 times, but in the chest, in the thorax, in the throat. Everywhere. That's his position. Let's look at the majority opinion. Okay? So we still have good detail in concrete terms in verbs and nouns, but we have a different type of view of the defendant, don't we, Mr. Atkins? What we see is he's using, you guys can tell me what kind of techniques this person's using there. We see passive, right? Some passive construction. Where he was shot and killed. It didn't say that they shot and killed him. It didn't say Atkins shot him 1, 2, 3 times, did it? He was shot and killed. Takes the guilt off, it takes the focus off of the defendant. But we see still a good amount of concrete detail. Right? And so this is this idea of showing, not telling. Okay, so when we talk about cut, we don't mean to get rid of the story. You got to show what's going on, just like they did. Okay. And then you can see in the what you can cut in the materials bank. Okay, so we know the golden rule. Oh, before I go, let me say, what's the golden rule? Help the reader get the content quickly and easily. Excellent. All right, so you've actually learned at least one thing today, and we discussed the tone, the usage, and the style. Those are the 3 key skills you need. I wish you all a wonderful career, and I'd just like to finally say, please don't hesitate to contact me if you have any further questions. Thank you very much. you.